humans love toxicity, right? There's a point where think about it. How many times have you seen a book get rid of the toxic stuff in your life? It's not, hey man, become the biggest jerk you can. There's none of those books around because we're all good at it. Your employees and your business comes before your family on logistical providing. You got to pay your bills for your business. You got to pay your employees first, otherwise you won't have a business to run. And then hopefully you have squared yourself away for the kids and wife. So it's not an easy thing.
Bryan, Mr. Bryan Todd.
What's up, my brother? How are you?
Good, man. Good. Man, it is so awesome to have you here today, man. I just can't wait to get started, man.
Yeah, it's been a bit, man. We just talked a second ago. It's been over 20 years since we've actually seen each other. We're doing a couple beers, man.
Absolutely. As you just alluded to, right? We've known each other, and it just kind of set the stage for everybody that's going to be watching or listening. We've known each other for well over 20 years, and we're stationed together overseas, and we were just kind of quickly reminiscing because, as you know, being separated for 20 years, when we've talked here and there, but we never had like a moment like this, right? We've both done things that most people would see in the movies, and now you're here talking about building businesses. So, Bryan, again, welcome again, my brother, to the Grit Factor podcast. Here's what the audience needs to hear and see about the Bryan that we get, to see and to enjoy the time we get to spend with you. You went from being a Black Hawk mechanic to, multiple deployments for combat to cybersecurity and at a major corporation. And then you went to home inspection, being a business builder and building a business in home inspection. Shortly after being laid off, definitely want to dive into that. Then you got this bug of starting another business, and so we'll talk more about this. But Bryan, brother, there's a lot of chapters to dive into this. So just give us a quick 60, 90-second version. Who is this dude that we're sitting in front of today, and what are you building right now?
Yeah, man. I'll give you the Cliff Note version. So, born and raised in Lakeland, Florida. Left there, went to the Army. Pretty much spent my entire tour overseas between Germany, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Got out. Wanted, the world domination mentality, as we all do when we get out. We're just going to accomplish everything and realize really quick who's loyal to you, who's not, what you're good at, what you're not good at. Nobody cares about like your history. So a lot of growing up had happened. I worked retail. I worked on the drone industry for a little bit. I worked on systems engineering with aircraft for a little bit. Then I did IT, cybersecurity. And this is curtailing 20 plus years into this, right?
Just a few minutes.
So, success and failures and all of that, right? So it kind of develops who you are. So, but the military has definitely been the foundation of, learning who. The biggest thing I think about all of it is learning who you're not and where your faults are and how to get better. I think that's a great, way to look at it. So anyways, I started the home inspection business. I saw a little bit of a gap in the market. Learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about what to say, what not to say. It's a great job. You're just 45 years old, still getting the crawl spaces, climbing roofs. And my blood pressure's lower. I weigh less. So it's not just that. It's also the entrepreneur side. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I thanks for sharing all that, man. I appreciate you giving us a glimpse into your story. And 20 years, there's a lot you can dive into. 20 years going from, these various chapters, some of which I've known very, deeply with you just because we share some of that life together. Then of course, other years where, you've really gone through the trenches, which is where we're going to cover, a good portion of today. So you talked about going from being this W-2 employee, right? You're this security of the 9 to 5. Ironically, a couple of guests ago, we talked about the perceived security of the 9 to 5 and how a lot of people gravitate towards this. And I get it, right? It's some people need that, and but it's not for everybody. But take me back to the day 6 months after moving your family to Arkansas, I almost said Arkansas, because we're talking about that in the green room, right?
Yeah.
You get laid off. Walk me to that specific moment, not really the summer, but that specific moment. What was a day like for you when you just made this transition and all of a sudden, bam, you get slapped with this?
That's a loaded question. Yeah, well, I mean, this recession back in 2008, for a lot of us who had, we were both out and working. We went through a lot of pains with that. So I learned, learning and getting better at stuff and realize what you suck at and kind of, develop from there. But anyways, because of that experience, I kind of saw the writing on the wall. Corporations, IT companies specifically, have been laying off people left and right. I know Dell is laying off like 30,000 people. I think Intel just laid off a bunch. HP, I just saw that news last month, was 15,000 or something. So there's a caveat to that. So with that many people that are laying off, you could have every stock option, every pay raise that's maxed out every year because you're just killing it. Have great products, but end of the day, it's an HR decision because it's numbers. So it's that's the tricky part with that. So realizing, and because of evolution of what I've been going through, leading teams and whatnot, I kind of saw it coming. So when October hit, I literally got a phone call on a Wednesday. A manager, and he went through the whole HR rigmarole. Man, we went through the trenches together, building projects, and he went back to corporate default, like, the whole script they give you. Say, hey man, sorry, let you know you're leaving. And I took it personal, and I shouldn't have, but I did.
Yeah.
However, so Friday was my last. Yeah. So Friday was my last day, and when that many of any industry is pumped out into the workforce, it has challenges, right? So now you have a bunch of people you don't have to pay as much because everybody's trying to get a job. So after about probably over 200 resumes, a few interviews, just couldn't lock anything down. So I'm like, you know what? It's time to take my destiny into my own hands.
Sure.
So here we are.
Love it. No, I love that you just said that in the sense of, putting destiny in your own hands instead of allowing somebody else to control that for you. Right. But in that moment, man, because I've been there, especially in the defense contractor world, it's very volatile, right?
For sure.
The money is great, but there is no security, and I had a similar situation where, we went back to Germany as a defense contractor. And of course, as a contractor, you have to pay for everything, right? I mean, they'll pay for your airfare, but your families and all your belongings and so forth. And,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, we had to pay for our cars to get transported, everything. Well, lo and behold, 9 months after we had did this, after our second time going back overseas, they walked us in this room right about the same time you were just mentioning is, hey guys, guess what? We've had contract closures, drawdowns and stuff of this nature. If you're in this room, you're affected. And it's like, well, shit. Here I did, I just moved all this stuff over here. But for you, man, there's got to be, there's got to be this emotional stir inside you where, you're told those news, right? You just said, a little bit that you took this personally and, you shouldn't have. Honestly, I think that's just a human response, right?
For sure.
We do take this personally because it affects us personally, right? It's our livelihoods. It's how we produce for our family. And especially for us dudes, that's how we associate our identity as being the provider for the family, right? But for you, was there anything stirring inside you emotionally? Did it scare you? Did it frustrate you? Did it talk to me how it shook your world for a moment when you were delivered those news?
Well, first off, I'm dumb, so sometimes I don't realize things until it's too late. So, it's interesting because, when there was a lot of us that on the same team had gotten laid off, like half my team got laid off or about that. And so, it was interesting to hear, everybody's like reaction to it. So I had one lady that was up in Northeast, but man, she was bougie. So she had like a nanny, and not that against anybody who does it. She had a nanny. I mean, she had her hair and nails done every week. I mean, she had all these expenses. And so she lived that lifestyle, but she had never have gone through hard times because I asked her, like, me and my wife did back in 08, 09. So, yeah, I mean, my reaction, man, I was just, it kind of going back to military, Iraq and Afghanistan. You go through things, and I think that my callous of my soul was callous, my mentality was callous. I think probably I didn't get nervous until about summer later. So I got laid off in October, and then next summer is when I got nervous because I realized. The business side is way more stressful, to be honest. So when I got laid off, yeah, I was upset, but
real quick before we keep going, if you've been listening to this conversation and something hit a nerve, if something we talked about made you pause, or you felt that little tug in your chest, like, man, that one was for me, I want you to lean into that for a second. Don't just brush it off. Because here's the thing, conversations like this, yes, they're great. And I love doing this show. I really do. But if I'm being real with you, a conversation can only take you so far. At some point, you got to stop nodding along and actually do something with that feeling. So here's what I want you to do. I want to personally invite you to something we built called the Reforge Challenge. It's a live 5-day experience I created specifically for people like you. High performers who know they're capable of more, but something got knocked sideways and the old playbook just stopped working. Or maybe life smacked you in the face with a 2x4 that you just didn't see coming. Maybe the fire just dimmed and you can't figure out how to reignite it. 5 days, 5 real identity shifts, live coaching, real community, and the kind of honest conversations that actually move the needle. Not just another thing you consume and forget by Friday. Listen, you're not broken. You're just in between versions. And I'd love for you to come see what we've built. Head on over to reforgechallenge.com. Again, reforgechallenge.com. Check it out. See if it speaks to you. And if it does, I'll see you inside. All right, let's get back to it.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. When you see it on the wall, it does make it easier. However, there's probably that side of you is this probably making you, it's not going to happen to me, right? It's not going to happen to me. It's probably going to happen to somebody else, especially if you're that guy who's always coming through, right? If you're that guy who's always showing up and always doing these things, you just have that perceived like comfort that it's probably going to happen, but it's not going to happen to me because X, Y, and Z, right? Because my boys, work in HR, or because I just show up when hardly anybody else does, they can count on me, right? So sometimes there's that comfort. I know I fell into that, into that zone and felt complacent, for, a large part of that because I just got comfortable, right?
Well, let me inject one thing here real quick. So I do think, again, because of my life experiences and what me and my wife and the family has gone through, I am at a point in my life where when things like that happen, it's for a reason.
Agree.
And I don't know that, but however, the reason why I wasn't stressing out at that day I got laid off is because, all right, man, God's got a better plan. He's smarter than me. You have control of things you have control of. He's not going to take care of your bank account and your investments and stuff, but you make the steps that you think is right. But he closed that door and opened up another one. Time will tell. Businesses fail all day long, but going to give it a good old college try. So, but anyways, that's I wanted to add that in there for somebody who's young, hasn't kind of gone through stuff. Just understand, like, there's definitely challenges will hit you with like a sledgehammer in the face. It absolutely will. So just understand it's a door closing and another one's just opened up. And the thing is, where a lot of people, again, my humble, I'll get off this here in a second, but a lot of people screw up is not seeing the open door. The opportunity that showed up. Sometimes it's a step back, right? I have done that. I have taken a step back in some things, but eventually down the road, it paid off dividends. So don't be afraid of things. If it's the only door you have to walk through, man, just go.
Agree. Yep. I agree. Oftentimes it's because we're so comfortable and it's what we know, right? That ex-girlfriend is oftentimes easier to go back to because you know that devil.
It's a
right?
comfort
yeah,
factor.
It's comfort, 100%,
what you know.
man. Yeah, it's what we know. Our brain is desired to keep us safe. And so anything that threatens that, our palms get sweaty, our heart starts freaking jumping, and everything else, right? So I appreciate you saying that, because the person that's listening and watching really needs to understand that concept, because adversity and problems is part of growth. We have to have that in order to get to the next level. We have to have, I mean, that's how you and I are where we are today, and next week we're going to get we're going to get slapped in the face with a 2x4 by life with something, and you just have to tell yourself, well, this too shall pass. Whatever happens, I can handle it, because you've had, we've both survived things and so forth. So you said you're the type of person, you really are self-aware, right? And knowing you as long as I've known you and the conversations that we've had, that is one of many things I could brag about you, is you are the type of person that is really self-aware more than most. And I think a lot of individuals miss that opportunity to really learn to take inventory, right? Yeah. So when you say self-aware, the person that's probably listening right now are like, what the hell does he mean by self-aware?
We're about to get into some Dr. Phil stuff. Yeah. Yeah, man. I'll refer to, I mean, this is a common theme. Jocko is one of the best authors I think that's out there. Humility is the key. There's ethical traits and there's personality traits and things that I think are core to be successful. And not everybody has them, right? There's guys who are, extremely entitled, and they don't have to worry about little humility, right? And they treat people the way, anyway. So long story short, I mean, I'm always looking for, and I ask people like, hey, what could I have done better for you? And really it's not like, and sometimes you have to have thick skin because everybody wants to be a Karen and complain about everything. Go to Facebook and sit back in the shadows and just watch. I call them the shadow Karens, just waiting in the corner.
Shadow Karens, love that.
So, anyways, I mean, it's just it's something that it takes. But once you commit to, like, number one, listening, number two, being self-aware, but like there's some things that you have to, like, how do I say this the right way? Just understand you suck at, but the trick is being okay with it and working for it. And another one too, man, I think is a big part of that is not caring what people think. You're going to have, everybody is an armchair quarterback. I mean, watch the Facebook stuff. Everybody becomes like a guerrilla veterinarian when that guerrilla stuff happened. Everybody right now is a geopolitical expert with what's happening overseas. Everybody's a tactician when it comes to vehicles moving. Anyways, I can get on a soapbox here, but I really think that's a key part of, especially an entrepreneurship side, because like the business doesn't care about your feelings. Your customers don't care about your feelings. They want a product to pay you for. And it's your job, honestly, to feed the family. So that humility of understanding that's your role, and, screw everything else about your feelings. And I honestly think there's a healthy part of that too. So,
100%. I agree. And that, what you mentioned right there, what I call as a feedback loop, right?
Yep.
Constantly asking for feedback on how you can improve, how you can do things differently, because, it's not like we're given a handbook for life, whether it's for a marriage, it's for our kids, it's for business, well, maybe for a little bit of business, but it's imperative to have that feedback loop so that you could be aware. And to your point, man, it does sting at times, but they don't hurt you. They don't do it to hurt you. Well, some do. So you got to be careful, right? Yeah. But they don't hurt. It's not they're doing it to hurt you. They're doing it because they love you. They see you that you could do better. And so it's coming from a place of love. Does it hurt? Does it sting? Sure. But they're not hurting you, right? That's one that I probably should clarify, because it's not like going to a dentist and getting your teeth taken out and, it's not like they're intentionally hurting you. They're doing that so they can make you feel better. They can, make you better, right?
Yep.
Same concept.
There's a lot of benefit to that too, real quick. So there's a lot of benefit to that too. So you transfer that to your business. So let's say if you got a team of 40 people. I had a good sized team at the last company I was at, and I'm always looking for that one person that sees something that everybody else doesn't see. So it's like, hey, anybody have any issues with this plan? You're never going to hear negative anything from me. Like, list out your concerns. And sometimes we'll have if it's like just an emotional concern, I get it. We'll talk about that afterwards. But if it's something legit, you've got everybody in the room, and let's crowdsource the crap out of it, right? So by the way, if I'm scaling my business and I've got 40 people in the room and a janitor says, I think that's a bad idea, like, dude, what do you got? I mean, I'm humble enough because we're all trying to do better and increase better. So yeah, it works on your personal side, and what it does is it goes into the business side. Because I mean, somebody talks crap about your business. I mean, they're calling your baby ugly, is what they're doing.
Yep.
So that's yeah.
Yeah. I agree. And sometimes we can take that personally too, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
You mentioned, and I know this personally, but one thing I think we fail to really highlight, is you've got a family, beautiful family, wife of 21 years, if I wrote that down correctly, 2 kids. And I actually know your wife personally because, the time we shared together overseas and so forth. But one thing I want to highlight, because this is oftentimes overlooked, especially from the sidelines, when you're going through that period, any period for that matter, but let's just talk about this one scenario where, you lost that sense of security, you lost that sense of comfort, and a lot of people would just give up, or they would just accrue bad habits, or, a variety of things. You and I, we know people in our lives have done those things, right? They've crippled, and they allowed outside influences to take them down into deep, dark places and get into substance abuse, and even worse off, take our own lives. But you chose not to do that, because when the floor dropped out, there were people that were watching you, right?
Yep.
What does that do to you as a man, as a father, and as a husband? How does that help you show up or not help you show up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. If I told you it didn't bug me, because you're a provider, right?
100%.
So my wife has stayed at home with the kids and raised the kids. I mean, and the kids have done phenomenal because of that, because we've been blessed enough to be able to do that. Now we built our life around that, so it's a little bit easier that way. But yeah, I guess I take the lack of the business is how I'm providing for my family, right? That's just end of the day. That's what it is. Yep. So when I fail at the business, it's easy to go toxic mindset and start blaming everybody. What do? You blame the people closest to you first.
Yes.
Is a traditional way of doing it. I mean, a lot of guys get divorced. I mean, you've seen people go bankrupt and they get divorced right after. It's just so what it's showing is that, like, if you have a business or you're having financial issues right now, and you and your wife are at each other's throats, or your spouse or whatever, man, like, there's underlying things that are happening, and you need to get to the bottom of it. So it's not fair to your wife and kids, or husband and kids, or whatever you've got going, to take that out on them. So the only thing so my mentality is, like, there's things I won't tell my wife about the business, just because I've learned to pick my battles. 21 years.
There is a cost. Agree.
Yeah. I've lost my, I could tell people, like, I've got no more self-respect. That's why I've been married for 21 years. Yeah, but I mean, it's all tied together, man. So to say that it's not is an absolute, misunderstanding. And kind of what I was thinking about, we were saying that too, is a normal employee, they just want to get their paycheck every week, take care of their family. You're an entrepreneur, man. Like, your employees and your business comes before your family on logistical providing. So you got to pay your bills for your business. You got to pay your employees first. Otherwise you won't have a business to run. And then hopefully you have squared yourself away for the kids and wife. So it's not an easy thing. So hope I answered your question the right way.
Yeah, no, it's not easy. You're right. You said something earlier that I want to clue in on, because it is an interesting observation. I'd like to get your insight as to why you think this is. But you said we often go to our loved ones first and not necessarily blame them, but lash out at them first, right? Why do you think that is?
That's a human nature question, man. And I'm not a psychiatrist. I think it's a comfort factor.
Agreed.
It's easy to do. It's easy to walk to the next room or call your wife and find, why didn't you run a dishwasher last night? Why are you complaining to me because I didn't take the trash can to the road? So and what it is that your humans love toxicity, right? There's a point where think about it. How many times have you seen a book get rid of the toxic stuff in your life? It's not, hey man, become the biggest jerk you can. There's none of those books around because we're all good at it. So
you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think what you're essentially trying to say here, and I agree. It is more comfortable to go to people that we love because we know that typically that we are going to be forgiven, right?
Exactly.
We're going to be
which
forgiven.
Is manipulation in a way. So be careful. That's what I'm saying. Be careful doing that.
I agree. And by all means, we're not condoning that activity, but this is often why, to your point, human behavior, why we do these things, because there is that level of comfort there. We know in the back of our minds we could do this. Again, not that we're condoning it, but we do that because we know that they're going to forgive us or should, and love us should unconditionally. Although there's an asterisk in this, and yes, you can be an ass in that asterisk, but there are oftentimes sometimes an asterisk in this. But this is why, because we know if you were to lash out at one of your employees, I'm sure that he'd be gone or she'd be gone, or any friend, surface level friend, So that's why it's easier, in my belief, and I'm glad you highlighted that. Going back to self-awareness for a moment, because I think this is really paramount, especially in today's culture. Because you said you're becoming self-aware was a gut check for you. And I can relate, even with my own spouse, especially of now over 25 years, and especially as a father and as an entrepreneur coach, being self-aware is critical. But that's not a small thing, right? Most people spend their whole life avoiding that mirror, a mirror of, all right, let's face the truth. What did you see when you looked at it honestly? When you looked in the mirror, what were some of the things, just high level, that you saw in yourself that you really needed to immediately change in yourself?
I blame this on the military. So I said earlier, I don't care. You can't care what people think. There's a gray area in there. You could be too much not caring what people think, and you could be, the other side. But yes, I think that's probably a big one. And so you have to, man, that's a loaded question. Another one. You got some good questions today, man.
I try, man. I try.
Yeah, I think, there's a healthy side of that because again, everybody has an opinion, right?
Agree.
And so I would say that starts with who you let into your circle. Right. So when you have a business consultant, I've called you on a couple things before because I know that you would tell me things and not have a filter, but you also know you can tell me these things and I won't cuss you out. Right. So, or if I did, it would be, hey man, I'm sorry about that. I call you anyways. So building that trust factor and building that group of people you can trust with that. I mean, if there's some guys in this industry that call me because they're like, hey man, I'm struggling right now. Like, what are you doing with this? But I know that it's rising. What is it? Who said this? I forgot who said it. I think it was one of the podcasters. He's like, yeah, rising water lifts all ships. Right. So, I have that mentality, even though if it's competition in my area, I'm a one-man wolf pack right now. So if I want to go on vacation, I want to call that guy, but hey man, I got some business this week. I can't drop. If I give it to you, I'll give you a good portion of it. So there's things like that as far as like getting partners with your business. I think that's a partnership question, right? So I kind of lean in that way. So who you surround yourself with, and who, be careful. So I did a blind survey to all my realtors that I have referrals or have done business with before. It was a mixed bag of reactions, and I know some of them are. There was no like logical reasoning of why they filled out the survey the way they did. So through that exercise, I learned, okay, I need to circle that real tight as far as who I ask questions in that industry. So there's no perfect answer to that question, man. It's kind of just learn out as you go.
Yeah, 100%, man. oftentimes looking in the mirror and revealing the things that we need to improve ourselves and coming face to face with it. It is hard. It does get easier, but at first you want to avoid it, right? You want to put it's like an ostrich. You want to put your head in the sand and pretend it's not there, right? But deep down, you're like, fudge, man, I know I need to change this because it is causing X, Y, Z to happen, whether it's failed relationships or it's finances, it's health, it's business, career, or relationships. I haven't said this already. So looking at yourself in the mirror, honestly, I'm like, okay, Karl, Bryan, what do I need to change about myself? Because obviously none of us are perfect, so, what are some things we need to change in our lives so we can be the best version of ourselves? Are we going to falter? 100%. But, it's just part of being human.
Well, real quick before we go to the next one. So we actually, if you think about it, so we used to both be crew chiefs. So we're part of the flight crew. So to kind of educate the audience a little bit. So we're part of the flight crew. So it looks like a helicopter, Black Hawk or Chinook or whatever flying over. There's a lot of stuff going on inside that cabin and cockpit, and as far as communication, what we're all doing. Especially in combat, especially dropping dudes off at the exit, doing logistical movements, whatever. So, because there's so much going on and you're fighting like the most challenging and, thing you can do as a human, you got environmental restrictions, you have your 3D, not just right and left, you're up and down. So you have a lot of stuff going on, which it introduces challenges to you as a human because nobody can do everything perfect. Yeah. So let's say if you screw something up, what me and you went through is we would go through after action. And so sometimes I went through this with I'm not sure if you've been through, I've been through a few of them where if it was damage to equipment, hurting somebody, or just a really bad decision, you had to get in front of your peers and your supervisors and go through an after action review. And you have to explain every little thing you did. So you're building a story. You're telling them where your mindset was, and this and that. And really at the end of the day is one to keep from other guys making the same mistake you made or be aware of it, or just to, hey man, you need to fix your shit. Right. So there's, but as a young 23, 24-year-old full of testosterone and you're, working out and have, you've done some crazy stuff at that time. That's a tough pill to swallow. So being in that culture, I think we have a little bit of a cheat code to that because we've been through it, but in life or death type stuff. So it's hard to explain that to some people who haven't been through that, because you corner somebody like, hey man, you really screwed this up. There's a tactful way to approach that. So
agree.
So when you're asking for feedback, again, because of you and other guys that I was in the service with, I know that you're going to have questions. You're not just going to tell me what you think right away. You're going to have questions for me, which makes, and really what you're doing is getting my juices flowing. Is like, I realize what I screwed up on. So that's kind of what I would think would be a good way to approach that.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. I appreciate you sharing that. And I guess we do kind of have a cheat code in some degree, but that came at a cost, so.
Yeah, for sure.
But you mentioned something that I really want to highlight, because this is oftentimes overlooked. And I don't think you said it. I think you said it without really realizing what you meant here, in a good way. You said that you believe in the land of abundance, right? There is no scarcity. There is no lack, right? Because you just said that, when I have an opportunity, or when I'm in the trenches with something else, you call some of your competitors that you trust, right? And say, hey, I've got this, blah, 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 blah. I like to think, and I'd love to hear your take on this. You did this because you believe in the law of reciprocity, right? Because that's going to come back to you threefold, fivefold, tenfold, right? Yep. So let me talk to that person out there right now that's probably questioning your logic. Like, that sounds so stupid. Why would I call my competitor to give them an opportunity for them probably take more of my revenue? Talk to that person for a moment, if you will. Like, why change their mind?
Well, think about it. I mean, as a business owner, you're on an island by yourself 99% of the time. It's your decision. You have data in front of you, but you can't look over your shoulder and be like, "Hey, boss, what can I do here? What would you recommend me do?" Because you're the boss. Yes. You're the boss. Yeah. So now there's the reciprocity side you talked about. I have had some some dealings with some businesses around here where it's been a one-way street. But I learned real quickly, and I still talk to them and respect them, but there's that arm distance of like, hey man, just stay where you are, and I can hear you from there type situation. But the guys, I mean, there's guys that I highly respect because one, surround yourself by people that are smarter than you is my number one thing, which isn't hard for me. But you also have to show. You also have to show like you're there for them as well. So don't you be the one-way street asking. You have to receive and you have to give. So it's just
don't be the
like,
asshole.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of my take, but yeah, I mean, there's, again, if you're in a 300 person town and you're selling dental insurance, I mean, you're probably not going to have much competition. If you do, yeah, that's just a lack of market abundance, right? So that's business 101. But yeah, I mean, I just think that you got to be one. Yeah, I'm with people if they say, well, I don't think that's right. Well, yeah, but there's always, I try to trust people first until they burn me. Now, I do have protective measures in there, but man, you'd be surprised. I've had guys where I first meet them and I just want to freaking, punch their face in. And after I get to know him, like, man, this is actually a cool guy. And I've had some great relationships because of that. So you never know, man. It's stay open. That's what I would recommend.
I agree. I agree. So, everybody that listened to that, that came into the idea that we live in a land of lack, I hope that changed your mind to change your shift or to at least challenge your thinking, because in fact, I just came off a client call earlier talking about the shift, right? If you're always focused on lack, well, you're always going to lack, right? But if you shift your focus to abundance and always focus on what you do have, your brain's just going to naturally gravitate towards those things instead of because your brain can't focus on both. So you can't it's not possible. Man, you're laying out some amazing things, that helped you get out of the dungeon, right? Because you were self-aware. You realize, man, I can't trust anybody else from my family, right? I can't trust the livelihood of my family. So you decided to roll your sleeves up, right? So let's talk about some building here, because this is something that you and I both love.
Yes, sir.
Right? You stopped reacting and you started building. So let's jam into, you launched a home inspection business and you're already working on the second one that we talked about in the green room, which is amazing. But that doesn't happen by accident, right? So what was the real first decision that you made that really put all that into motion to move the needle in creating that first business?
Man, kind of going back to, so I laid off in October, and by, I would say mid-January, the following, 25, I had gone through like another 7 or 8 interviews, final round for 3 of them, and none of them hit. And one of them finally was like, one of them was the VP of the company up the road was like, dude, you're fantastic. The problem is that you are aged. This guy is 30 years old. You're going to come in with a ton of experience, and he sees you as a threat. So there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on too. But, and he's just like, you're going to have a challenge because you come in with a ton of experience and you can talk, you can relate, you can calm things down. I've seen what you talk. So they asked, this guy in particular asked for like an essay of like, what trouble things have you run into and how did you solve them? And all of them, systems and vision and things, just basic things.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, so that conversation, a bunch of other things that led up to that was like, you know what, man, I think that's a big man saying, hey dude, you're on your own. You're a one-man wolf pack until told otherwise. So, I mean, so January, I talked to a couple friends. One was a realtor in the area, and I'm like, hey man, so I heard about this home inspection side, and the one we had done here, it was okay. The inspector missed some stuff, and then, but come to find out, that was like one of the best ones in the area. And I'm not going to say who they are because I respect them.
Sure, no, so that's fine. It'll probably be edited out anyways.
Yeah, okay. If they see this, right. If they see this, then I'll buy him or her a beer. Anyway, so long story short, I went up to a realtor office and I'm like, hey, I'm wanting to be a home inspector. if I was halfway decent and I could carry myself, like what's the market like for a new home inspector? And resoundingly enough, they're like, if you're halfway decent and can spell inspector, you'll probably do, a good job. And so did some research, and then I think February is when I made the decision. So there was a guy who was coming to Fayetteville, Floyd, one of my business mentor, one of the best home inspectors on the East Coast, has a huge business and does really well. Anyways, nice. So he was doing the training course, and it was, again, it's seeing the doors being open and walking through them. And ever since then, now I did have a hiccup. I'll tell you about that here in a little bit. But ever since then, I had just great feedback, great exposure, just talking to people, going to open homes and doing this and that, talking to realtors. And, so in March I took the class, and April 5th, I launched a company. And, like I said, I did 78 inspections last year, and I'm talking to guys that are on these other little groups and things like that. And some of them are doing 20. Every once in a while you'll get one, but man, I know, but it was a new industry. So what do you do best? If you don't know something, you study for 4 to 6 weeks, 8 to 10 hours a day. And I had nothing else to do. I wasn't employed, so I could do that. And so here's another one too. And I'll give a shout out to my wife. My wife knows that when I have to, I did college, but I did full-time college, worked full-time, and had 2 young kids. So that's probably one of the most stressful times as well. Wow. But she was the reason why I was able to do that.
Yeah.
So so there's my situation and how we have built everything together so far. She knew that that's what had to be done. So so then I just bought business cards, started my LLC. I did some innovative stuff. I had a drone license already. So I'm just so June, July, I was kicking butt, and then October hit, and the market dropped out from under me, and I didn't expect that till November, December. So, anyways, but it's been, and so that was a little, if you want to, I can go into that real quick. That's a whole,
absolutely.
Okay, so you, as a business owner, in my opinion, the first year or two, I think, is you're going to have just my experience is you're going to have a downtime. You're going to have negative thoughts. Why did I do this?
Oh gosh,
you're going to start looking at other jobs.
Yes.
You're going to start submitting to other stuff. And then, but it was great for me to do. So I will tell you this, I'll say it. I sold cars for 2 months, the best and the worst thing I could have ever done. Man, whatever you think about the car industry, it's about 95%. You're right. That's no matter what your gut instinct on it is. The people that there's a few people that were good, but man, anyways, I'll leave it there. But with the silver lining about it, again, looking for opportunity and everything, man, my sales, so my overcoming objections, qualifying the leads, how to, it got to a point, but I actually cared about the people that showed up. So the ones that were really cool was the mom and daughter. They had no husband, or the husband passed away or divorced and moved. And they're trying to find a new car for a teenager, and she didn't have $20,000. So I would go out of my way. I really gravitated towards that because we had just gone through that with my daughter. And so but it took some stuff happening at the place, and I didn't like what they were trying to do to some people. I'm like, what? I'm going to. And you're there for 10 to 11 hours on the lot, just standing there in a corner like a lady of the night. And no offense if you're one of those, but they're entrepreneurs too. Anyways, sorry, that's the army coming out. Anyways, so I'm sitting there looking. I'm like, I'm spending 10 to 11 hours a day on the lot here. Can I put this towards my business? And so talking to the wife, I'm like, hey, actually I called a couple of my close business partners, and I'm like, hey, this is my situation. That goes back to the whole circle of your people. So, hey, this is my situation. This is where my headspace is at. And one of them was like, dude, we've been effing pissed at you because you left, and we have gone through other inspectors and you spoiled us. So please come back. Let us know. I'm like, all right. So I called the wife and I said, hey, I'm done. I can't do this no more. I sold 14 cars the first 4 weeks of actively selling cars.
That's pretty good, man.
Dude. Anyways.
But wouldn't it be fair to say, though, that because one thing I grasped out of, or caught out of what you just talked about there is you transferred your skills, right? you transfer your skills that you learned while you're doing car sales. You learn how to overcome objections. And honestly, we're always selling, right? I honestly hear a lot of, oh, I don't want to be in sales. Well, hate to break it to you, but you're already selling, right?
Yeah. If you're a business owner and you have not opened up a sales book, like Chris Voss, never split the difference, Chaco leadership, all these things that deal with people and challenging time. So there's so many benefits to that. I think that's the core piece that I think I missed on my business. And so again, it was a door that was open. I walked through it, and after a little bit, I'm like, all right, I've done squeezed the juice out of this, 14-year-old orange, and here we are.
Real quick before we keep going, if you've been listening to this conversation and something hit a nerve, if something we talked about made you pause, or you felt that little tug in your chest like, man, that one was for me, I want you to lean into that for a second. Don't just brush it off. Because here's the thing. Conversations like this, yes, they're great. And I love doing this show. I really do. But if I'm being real with you, a conversation can only take you so far. At some point, you got to stop nodding along and actually do something with that feeling. So here's what I want you to do. I want to personally invite you to something we built called the Reforge Challenge. It's a live 5-day experience I created specifically for people like you. High performers who know they're capable of more, but something got knocked sideways and your old playbook just stopped working. Or maybe life smacked you in the face with a 2x4 that you just didn't see coming. Maybe the fire just dimmed and you can't figure out how to reignite it. 5 days, 5 real identity shifts, live coaching, real community, in the kind of honest conversations that actually move the needle. Not just another thing you consume and forget by Friday. Listen, you're not broken. You're just in between versions. And I'd love for you to come see what we've built. Head on over to reforgechallenge.com. Again, reforgechallenge.com. Check it out. See if it speaks to you. And if it does, I'll see you inside. All right, let's get back to it.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. And I love that you mentioned, how you could transfer your skills, because oftentimes we just get boxed in. We don't think about how we could transfer those skills, especially sales. Man, if you're married, you have kids, you're always selling anyways. But
I just tell them what to do.
Through selling, right? Because you still have to overcome objections, but.
Yeah, you're grounded. That's me overcoming their objection. No, I'm just kidding. No, they're great.
I'm going to tell Julia. I'm kidding.
No, don't do that.
No, she's an amazing person, man. Thank
you.
So this is something I really want for folks to take away from this is, how can you apply and adopt the skills that you've already learned and will continue to learn into this next season of life? Well, you're always going to learn, right?
Yep.
Learn through experience, learn through knowledge, but you can only take so much knowledge before you just got to say, you know what? I'm just going to take this first step, because I know personally, I can count more times than not the amount of people I've run into. They think they need more knowledge. They think they need more time. They think they need more of whatever, fill in a blank, before they just go out and execute, right?
Paralysis
for that
by
someday.
analysis.
What's that? Analysis paralysis. Yes, agree.
Yep. What's your thoughts on that? So let's say if you're wanting to start, you've started enough businesses, right? It is fear, but there's a lot of over smart. Like, so sometimes starting a business it doesn't take much logic. It just takes a little bit of work. But people who are logical are always trying to find what can get me or what. So walk me through one of your. I'm sure you've done that in one or two of yours. So have you gone through that before?
Every single one.
Okay.
Every business, there is a side of me that wants to walk into that trap of analysis paralysis. Then I learned, wait a minute, that is this fear disguised as perfectionist, right? Or perfectionist disguised as fear, because I'm afraid of making a mistake or making myself look stupid or whatever, fill in a blank, right? But you just have to take that step, and the reason why it feels so weird, the reason why we feel that we have to have everything, is because we've gotten so comfortable to what we've been through, right? To your point, to speak to your life for a moment, you lived a W-2 life for so long, you just get comfortable, you get complacent. And so anything outside that, man, your palms get sweaty, your heart rate starts racing, all these thoughts start racing through your mind. Man, what if I look stupid? What if I make a mistake? What if I lose money? What if my relationship with my spouse gets damaged? Or all these different things, all these what ifs starts racing through your mind. 95% of the time, when we just take that first step, all those false scenarios that you made up, all these stories you made up in your mind, they don't come to fruition. And 95% of our actions, ironically, is governed by emotions, governed by feelings, which are temporary. I was reading a report. I forget this neuroscientist. I can't even pronounce his name, actually. He's in Germany. I got to spit a few times in order to accurately pronounce his name. But
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, 95% of our actions are governed by how we feel, by our emotions, which come and go. So let's get back to building, because you mentioned some things in here that I really want to highlight, especially as we start to wrap up.
Yep.
You mentioned that the military laid the foundation. It showed you what you needed to work on, which I can relate here, right? You're building this business now. In the hard moments, is there something in your time in the Army or any time of your life, but specifically in the Army, because I really want to hone in on that, that you're reaching back and pull from? Like, is there anything,
man,
in specific?
That's the key thing I would say is systems and processes, right? So there's a guy, I forgot his name. First name's Chris. I forgot his last name. I'm terrible with names. His name is he's got a book called E-Myth, right? And so what he's doing is he's explaining that. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. So for those who don't, he basically says take your business and develop a franchise. Example, like what do you call it? It's just an introduction into building a franchise model, right?
Yeah.
So what you're doing, prototype, that's what I'm looking for. So you're building a prototype franchise with your business. And so everything I've done to this point has been, okay, if something's broken, it's because of this system. How does this work? How does this affect the mission at hand? So everything I do in my business is, what is this process? What processes do I need? And what's really, really important about that is, one, being okay with failure. Being okay with, you bought a system and it doesn't work. Cool. You've learned everything. There's always positive in everything you do.
Yes.
So
collecting data.
Right. Exactly. So that, for deploying to the border of Pakistan, had to be self-sustaining for 4 to 6 weeks. Like those things have been absolute key, and it's not difficult stuff. So I'm saying I went through it as a young guy and had Broderick. I'm not sure if you remember him, but
I remember him.
Yeah, he was key to teaching us a lot of that stuff. So understanding the processes and just kind of know when you walk onto a job, like what tools do you need? What are common things that fail? And so, but that's a technical side. So talking about E-Myth, so that's the technical side. Then you get the managerial side, which is how do you manage all the clients that you have? How do you manage the routes? How do you manage the type of work you're going to do? And then you got the entrepreneur side. So where I think, and he is completely right on that book, the E-Myth. If you haven't read the E-Myth book, go get it. The biggest part with me was, there was an eye opener was, like ignoring the entrepreneur side of the business. Like all of us want to do, like if you're an AC tech or you're an electrician, that's all you want to do. That's probably about 20-30% of what you're doing. The other 80-70% is going to be taxes, is going to be payroll, is going to be SEO, it's going to be, marketing, it's going to be relationship building, finding new clients, and then figuring out things like that. So that's kind of what I would say is a big part of the core of what I pulled from the military: systems and processes, and just keep learning, keep opening up a book, and just trying to figure out what's working and what's not.
Yeah, I love it, man. I can definitely relate to that, or definitely agree on that. That was something I can draw on, was systems and being systems minded, especially in aircraft, right? I mean, it's very systems driven, and there's an order to everything. There's a checklist for everything, and even when stuff goes haywire and stuff goes to the fan, there's a process. There's a checklist to follow. As we start to wrap up, man, I'm going to rapid fire through a couple of things, some of which we discussed in the green room. Unfortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, we do have to wrap this up because I know we could talk forever on this kind of stuff. Might be a part 2. So if you would love to hear some more on this conversation, love to hear some feedback and comments, let Bryan know too, because he needs to hear this feedback. But I'm of the belief that grit means something different for everyone in different seasons, right? Whether you're a parent that's navigating early childhood, or, like us, kids are starting to spread the wings and they've got some more complex things and life is more complex.
Yep.
So for you in this season of life that you're in, building businesses and being a father and a husband and so forth, what does grit mean for you right now?
Yeah, I would say where people freak out is mainly emotionally driven, right? So any decision that comes up, I try to get rid of the emotion, the stress, and turn logic part on. And what you're doing is you're dissecting the problem. Okay, what's causing this problem? Yeah. What are my options to solve this problem? And just kind of work through the people that are in the problem with you and try to get them all on the same page.
Love it, man. Love it.
That's overcoming grit, in my opinion.
Yeah, so emotions is a big thing from something. It reminds me of something I learned several years ago. Basically, us men, we process emotions through logic, and women process logic through emotions. And I think for anything that we do in life, we've got to remove emotions out of the equation, whether it's your peak or your low. You've got to get back to the equal state as fast as you possibly can so you can make the best decisions possible. So awesome, man. So as I talked to you in the green room, I asked you for this directive, right? So what is this, when you're in trenches, you're going through the thick of it, and whether it's in the season or a moment or whatever, where you just like, man, you've got to pull yourself through. What is a quote or directive that you're finding yourself, you're reminding yourself of to champion yourself out of that moment or through that moment?
The word good.
Ooh.
It's if you're going through something like good, I'm getting challenged right now. How do we come out of this? Yeah. No, I'm telling you, like just there's you got to find them as your own person, but there's people out there who come up with stupid, simple ways to solve problems.
Yeah.
And to me, like this last one, I had a temp of like, I think 103, 104, and I was a second inspection of the day, climbing in the attic space, and just, I'm getting older. It sucks getting old because your body doesn't respond. So, and so I went out and so I'm an hour away from being done. And this is a big purchase for somebody, and it's their home. And I was like, man, I could cut the corner. You know what? Nope. Good. Let me see how much more efficient I could be from when I first started today. So, that's my mentality. It's good.
I needed you know what? Thank you. I needed that reminder, to be honest with you.
Yep.
I needed that. And I hope those are listening. If you're not sure what or what we're talking about here, it's really a 30 or no, it's like a 60, 90 second clip of Jocko, talking about these different scenarios. Oh, you didn't get that promotion. Good. You lost this, competition. Good. Why is it saying this? Well, it's because a moment for you to learn. It's a moment for you to learn from that situation, to dig deep and see just what you're truly made of. And man, I actually needed to hear that, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
I'm of the belief, because especially in this season of life, and I'm sure you can agree with in the building aspect of what you're in right now, there's been a lot of attention on adding, right? Adding processes, adding systems, adding this, adding that, right? But conversely, growth also requires subtraction, addition by subtraction, right? So what is one thing where it could be a belief or something, a point of friction? What is something that you are either actively subtract or you've had to subtract in order to level up?
Saying yes to everything. Yeah. So when I first started, I joined the chamber. There's a couple associations I'm part of, and like they need help as much as anybody does. And so when you're starting in a business, you're super hungry to develop those relationships. And then you get to a point where I've had to tell a couple of them, like, listen, I'm going to hurt your feelings, but I cannot do this week. I've got, and then you stop showing up to meetings because you're actually working. So, there was a soft landing approach that I had to it, but just telling people no every once in a while, is key. Now,
Agree.
there's side effects to every decision and consequences to every decision, good or bad. So just learn. You don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of pissing people off. Just learn and move on.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
You're probably the third person I've heard this past week, not all guests, but just, in general, of when they're in that season of when that they need to learn to say yes and when to say no. Yep. Saying yes to the right things, not the good things, but saying yes to the right things and knowing when to say no, because, man, that could get you in hot water fast for sure. All right, man. So this last question is a 2-part question, which I prefaced or I kind of prepared you with in the green room.
Yep.
Right. So it just kind of level set the audience. I always love to give my current guest the opportunity to ask my next guest, man, what is one thing, if you're me, what would you love to ask my next guest? Because maybe you went through something in your marriage or in your finances and your health, your business career. What would be that one thing that, man, I just went through this. I would love to get their perspective on this or that, or however they would handle this, right? And so far, this question the question has been perfect for every single guest. And there's no, insight as to who is who, like the guest lineup. So my previous guest, actually, I dropped the ball and asking her because the conversation was so amazing. So I had actually sent her a text like, oh, shoot, I forgot to ask you. But her question for you was this. What's one thing that you wish you learned earlier in your life or in your business?
That's a tough one. Because I feel like I'm always working on fixing something. Well, what would I, let me ask you, give me a second to think about that. But while I'm thinking about it, what's your answer to that question?
Honestly, none.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I answer this because I am where I am because I had to endure the trials and tribulations. Are there things I wish I knew? Yeah. I wish, when I got out of the military in 2003, that when I bought this Mustang Cobra and I went on I-85 in Charlotte and tried to road race somebody, that I would get arrested, right? But doing that, forced some hard lessons. Hey, dumbass, you shouldn't have done that because you get your car impounded, you get it taken away, and so forth. Are there things I wish I had done differently? Sure. But I'm also on the same side. No, because God has designed this life for me. He has me right where I need to be at the time I need to be here. And so there is a side of me that wishes yes, but also on the other side, I just, it's been hard. Yeah, I've had my nuts kicked in more times than I care to count and care to admit, but God, he put this, for a reason.
Yeah, I think for me, and you knew me when I was coming up as an enlisted guy. I could have worked harder and worked smarter in general. And that's with everything. I was I had, and growing up, I didn't have, I had some pressure, but not a lot of pressure to be better.
Yeah.
Or work up to the level that my parents and teachers and in the military sometimes y'all. But like, for example, my son, he's a 15-year-old strapping young lad. And
of course he's your son. He's got to be strapping young lad.
Oh, yeah. Well, allegedly. No, he's kicking butt, but he's going through this testosterone hormonal thing right now where I'm like, pulling the curtains back, he plays for a football team here in town, and they're a great football team. And he's played quarterback before at other teams and did really, really well. His IQ was always spot on. His throwing was always spot on. Everything he's had was a lack of confidence to a certain degree. Not completely, but to a certain degree. Because he wanted to be 100% sure he's not going to make a mistake. And that has his faults too, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier. Yeah. So my big thing now is hey, dude, be okay with failure. And just don't let the fear of failure hold you back from doing more. I wouldn't say that is exactly my issue I had growing up, but maybe a little bit. I think I was more in fear of the being made fun of or not being accepted by my peers or something like that. And so you stay in the middle, kind of like in that realm. But I would say that's kind of my biggest thing I wish I'd have learned earlier was the harder I work, the more I focus on the mission, task, whatever, I will be better. So that's I think I've kind of came out of that realm around 37, 30 years old.
That's a great response, and I think everybody can relate to that. I know I can. I mean, but that's the school of hard knocks. I mean, we've had to learn those things. We've had to learn those hard lessons. I'm watching my son and my kids do the same thing, and it's like, bro, there are clients that pay me a lot of money for me to, for the advice you're getting, but you're choosing to endure the pain anyways. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. That's boys. Boys are dumb.
Yep. Yeah. But well, all right. As we wrap up, man, the last part of the last question, what is the one question you will love to ask my next guest?
What do you consider success?
Ooh. And that's perfect for my next one.
That's everybody does that. Every time I've asked somebody that, like, it's even really stupid successful people, they're like, it takes them a second.
Yeah.
So but at the same time, I'm okay with, like, I don't, probably when I die is when I feel success. I'm okay with that answer too, but I don't think some people don't have that vision of where they want to be, because the problem is then you retire and you die early, and so anyways.
No, that's a good one, because in fact, I was also on a call earlier today, and we talked about that, because he kept saying success, and I was like, all right, well, let's be a little more specific, because I hear this word. Let's stop generalizing it. What does that mean to that dude, right? So, Awesome, man. Great question. And ironically, it is going to fit perfect to my next guest. So, and I can't tell you who that is. So, awesome. Well, Bryan, my dude, thank you so much for not just, coming on here and giving us the highlight reel, because that is easy to do, especially in today's culture. Especially in social media, it's all you see is everybody's highlight reels. Look at this, look at that, look how amazing I am. But you came in here and said, like, yes, you showed us some highlight reels, but you showed us some very specific moments where you had the floor pulled out from underneath you. You could have easily gone many, some very toxic directions, but instead you chose to rise up and build some amazing businesses and build a life for yourselves. Yes, it was hard, but you chose to rise up and show your family and lead by example. So, I appreciate you coming on here, man, and sharing.
Yeah, man. Well, good luck with your endeavor here, man. So you're getting good information to the people who need it, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate it. So for the person that's listening, maybe they're in Arkansas or Arkansas, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm looking to buy a home, or maybe they just want to connect with you because they love hearing this Bryan Todd. Okay. Who can't not love Bryan Todd, by the way? He's a great drummer. That was sarcasm.
Yeah, no, I
forgot to mention that.
I got to eat that one for sure. That's good.
Oh man, that's really a blast in the past.
Oh God, I can't remember the last time I actually got behind the set. Anyway,
same. I hadn't touched a guitar in too long, honestly. But nonetheless, what is one place that somebody could find you if they want to just reach out to you, connect with you, or maybe they want your services, pool or home inspection?
Yeah, well, I mean, social media is big, so social media, look up Unified Inspection Services or go to unifiedinspection.com. All my contact information. And listen, here's the deal. I do try to take time out of my day to help people where I can. So if you have, if you want to be told you suck, if you want to be told you're a great person, give me a call and I'll tell you whatever you want me to tell you. But I'll ask some questions, so be prepared for some tough questions.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I mean, we're all in this together, man. It's really life is too short for us to be, selfish and envy, right? Envy is kind of a bad one too. Anyways, we're one team, one fight.
Yep. No, I agree. Thanks for sharing all that, man. Those will definitely be dropping that in the show notes. To those listening and watching, as you know, if you're listening to the first time, I'm going to say it again, but the gap between average and excellence is merely just action, even imperfect action. My challenge to you is simple, guys. Don't just listen to what Bryan's disclosing here and all the knowledge and wisdom he's dropping here. Just take one thing from from the things he shared in the conversation today, whether that's you're looking at yourself in the mirror and doing an honest assessment, or doing some feedback loops, or maybe it's finally taking action on building a business or what have you. Just do it, please, because I will tell you, the future self of you will give you a high five, and it's not going to be in the face. Maybe. But be the reason, please, that someone doesn't quit today. Share, don't keep this to yourself. Share the link, share the episode, because someone in your circle definitely needs it. So again, Bryan, thank you so much, my dude. I appreciate you joining Arena today, man.
Humbled, my man. We'll hopefully do this again sometime.
Absolutely. Absolutely.